Hi, everyone. I have a book to read for you, and it is about a very special lady, and her name is Laura Wheeler Waring. And she is no longer with us, but she was an artist, an African American artist. And this book is about her. It's called Beautiful Shades of Brown. And what's really cool about it is she was painting when women weren't painting and accepted like the men were doing at the time, right after the Civil War. So late 1800s is when she was born. And she was an African American lady who was an amazing artist. Okay. So you can see the picture here. There she is as a little girl, drawing just like you do in class, right? Because you got to start somewhere. It says Laura loved the color brown. She loved her mother's chocolate colored hair, her father's caramel coat, and all the different browns in the cheeks of her younger sisters and brothers. She's drawing them, isn't she? Some languages have 50 words for snow, she thought, swirling her brush in a puddle of chestnut paint. There should be 50 words for brown. It was hard to get each shade right. Laura dabbed a spot of paint on her skin. It didn't match at all. Not until she added some red and yellow. Maybe you didn't see brown in a rainbow, she thought. But brown was a rainbow with orange and blue, red and green tucked inside, playing hide and seek. So here she is mixing her colors, having fun with her paintbrush. Here's her paints there on her palette. Laura spent hours mixing and blending, trying for the precise shade of the russet crinkles by her father's eyes and the coffee-colored creases in her mother's hands. She bribed her sister and brothers with peppermints to sit still while she tried to capture all their colors. One day she dreamed her paintings would hang in museums and everyone would see how much color brown could hold. So there she is. She's painting on her easel, on her painting there, and there's her brother with a peppermint sitting still. Hard to sit still that long. That was a crazy idea for a 10-year-old in Connecticut in 1897. African Americans had separate neighborhoods, separate churches, and separate schools. What a silly idea. No one was going to put paintings of African Americans on museum walls. Laura was young, but she was determined. She didn't give up. Maybe there weren't portraits of African Americans in museums yet, but she could turn her room into a gallery. At least there, her sister and brothers could see pictures of people with all different shades of brown smiling back at them. So you can see her bedroom. I know some of you have your pictures up in your bedroom or maybe on the refrigerator. She's showing her brothers and sisters all the paintings, beautiful paintings, on her wall. All through high school, Laura wanted only one thing: to go to a real art school, a place where she could learn to get the images she saw in her head out onto the canvas. She applied to the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. It was far from home, expensive, and nearly all white, but she got the acceptance letter. There was no question. Laura would get a job if she had to, but she would go. The academy was a good start, but Laura was hungry to learn more, to be around real artists. Everyone knew there was only one place to study art: Paris, France, that is. Laura worked hard and won a scholarship. Clutching her paint box, she boarded a ship. They didn't have planes back then. Just like at school, nearly everyone around her was white, but her sketchbook was filled with portraits of people she loved, with luminous brown tones she didn't want to forget. So here she is in art school. She's growing up, isn't she? In Paris, Laura visited museums and studied the paintings of Monet, Manet, and Cézanne. She set up her easel in the Jeu de Paume and copied the green skin of Lautrec's singers, the blue faces of Matisse's women, the caramel bodies of Gauguin's Tahitians. All the different ways people could be painted reminded Laura of what she'd wanted from the start, to paint portraits like the people she knew, people full of beautiful shades of brown. So here she's visiting the museum in Paris. Okay. She's thinking about it, isn't she? Back home in Philadelphia, Laura heard about a young African-American singer performing Handel's Messiah at the Union Baptist Church. Marian Anderson was just a teenager, but when she walked out on stage, she held her head as high as a queen. Then Marian sang, and she didn't sound young at all. Laura's eyes filled with tears. It was as if she was hearing what she had been trying to paint for so long. Marian's notes rose high and danced above her in beautiful shades of brown. One day, I'm going to paint Marian Anderson, Laura promised herself. There's the theater with Marian Anderson as a teenager singing. Very famous lady singer. And there's Laura watching. Paris had made Laura's paintings more bold and confident. News spread about the remarkable artist whose subjects breathed on canvas. In 1944, the director of the Harman Foundation told Laura they wanted to build a collection of portraits of important African Americans. Would Laura like to paint them? Yes, she would, she said. Laura painted journalist and activist Alice Dunbar Nelson. She painted Broadway lyricist and poet James Weldon Johnson, a dashing dark mustache on his sensitive face. There she is painting. Laura was looking for more subjects when she saw a familiar name in the news. Marian Anderson had just been invited to sing at the White House. Wow, for the president. The first African American to do so. Marian's music was breaking down walls. Could a portrait of Laura break down walls too? Laura asked Marian if she would sit for a portrait, and she said yes. Day after day, Marian posed. Laura mixed shades of brown, burnt umber with yellow and dabs of white. No, that wasn't it. How about a little green and violet? Closer, Laura wiped her paint-spattered forehead, traces of red and cerulean blue. So there's Mrs. Anderson posing, and there's Laura painting her. Laura looked at Marian and saw again the teenagers singing so soulfully years ago. She heard again the music in all its beautiful shades of brown. She felt the melody travel down to her fingers as she dipped her brush into the paints. She would find the exact luminous shade of Marian's beautiful brown skin. Laura put down her brush. She held her breath as Marian studied the painting, hoping the great singer would see her spirit mirrored there. Marian smiled. She loved it. So there's Marian looking at her portrait. Look how it looks like her. And there's Laura, very proud artist. She didn't give up, did she? People flocked to see Laura's paintings as they traveled around the country. After the tour, the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. hung Laura's paintings in the National Portrait Gallery. Now her portraits weren't hidden in her bedroom anymore. Now everyone can see the rainbow shining through each tone of brown, and children like her, nieces and nephews, could see faces like theirs and how beautiful they were. So there's the museum, and you can see it in Washington, D.C., and there her niece and nephew. So these are some of the other art pieces that she has done that are in museums all over. Very famous African Americans that she painted. So, and that is about the beautiful shades of brown by the artist Laura Wheeler Waring. And you can see her art in Washington, D.C. Please go see it. So thank you, Laura, for all the beautiful work and the courage that she had to do it. See you later. Mrs. Calloway signing off from the art room.